Here at the Giver Marketing Network, we don't leave you drifting out in space. We connect you to a coach who will help you build and grow your marketing business. Our process acts as a guide on how to connect with other businesses, maintain good relations, and establish a presence on the Giver Marketing Network. Each member within this collaborative group will have the opportunity to leverage your talent and influence, a true network effect. If you are looking to collaborate on more projects, welcome to the Giver Marketing Network, the most trusted and highest rated collective of specialists on the planet. Here we have a group of like-minded professionals who focus on making valuable introductions and helping each other grow by teaming up. Imagine Upwork meets a network and a coach. The talent collectively includes services like visibility and SEO, creating logos, designing websites, managing social media, outreach messaging, visual storytelling, and much more. Think of what you could do with laser-focused allies strengthening your business while offering your talent to the entire network. Click near this video for more information.
Welcome everybody to the Giver Marketing Network and the Kingdom Warriors University broadcast. Here with Dustin Stout today. He's going to be unveiling some special goodies for us when it comes to not only artificial intelligence, but some tools and tips and ways to leverage a tool called Magai, which he happens to be the founder of. But we all love this tool, so you might want to pay attention to how it's used. And so this will act as kind of a primer, but also an eye-opener to what kind of resources you can use in your business, in your everyday life, to save you some time and get that information and that creativity going that you need to get going. All right, so let's jump right in, Dustin. Folks want to know a little bit about your background before we do the show and tell today. Tell us a little bit, where did you come from? How did you even get to start this company? And what's the origin story here, man? Come on, give us the background.
I like that. Where did you come from?
Yeah, where did
yeah. So I grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania called Sharon, and it was right on the Ohio border. I grew up to a mother who was a bartender and a stepfather who worked in the steel industry. So we were a middle-class family. And because my stepdad was in the steel industry, which saw many ups and downs throughout my childhood, he, on a number of occasions, was out of work. And so, there were times where we really struggled. But he worked hard. My mom worked hard to really make sure that, we were provided for. And, I always appreciated that. I didn't, see myself as underprivileged or overprivileged. I felt like, my parents worked hard to give me a decent upbringing. Found Jesus at the age of 14 on my own. Got invited to a youth group, and basically the pitch from my friend Joel was, "You should come to my youth group because we play games, there's music, and there's girls." And I was like, "Let's do it. That sounds great." So I did. I went. Me and my friend Bob decided to walk there. It was right down the street from my house, so it was very convenient. Kept going to youth group. Eventually heard a message, and Jesus saved my life. So, from there on, just really tried to live a life of integrity that honored Him. And seeing how hard my parents worked, I really wanted to be a hard worker. I wanted to use God's talents that He's given me to serve Him and to, eventually someday provide for a family. Moved out to California right after high school and was pursuing acting. I went to a very prestigious acting conservatory in Hollywood, the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. Found really quickly that in Hollywood, it's really difficult to find work, especially when there are 1.5 million other tall white dudes that look just like you fighting for the same roles. Many of them have been doing it for longer than you. So long story short, I caught the entrepreneurship bug. I didn't want to wait tables as most actors do. I wanted to kind of carve my own path. And so it led me down this path of, I was a youth director for a church for a while. And then I had this gift for graphic design. I taught myself graphic design, and before long, I'm doing it for the church and doing it for my ministry and learning how to reach my audience for my youth ministry, which at the time was Facebook. So I kind of got into Facebook marketing, and that just led me down a path of learning web design and learning internet marketing and SEO, and all this stuff kind of led to me being a full-time digital marketing consultant. And that's what I've been doing for the last 12 years, and then started creating digital products because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. As anybody who knows me will tell you, I like to focus on the details and really take time to care for those details. And when you're that kind of personality, consulting work becomes very hard to scale because it's all dependent on you being there and fine-tuning everything. So digital products are really the better route for me. Consulting kind of got me to where I was to be self-sufficient as an entrepreneur and for the last 10 years. And then, digital products allows me to really get down and dirty with the details and build things that are, really, really effective for the people that they're built for. And I can just spend that love and care on the things to make sure that it helps a wide range of people and not just one person at a time.
Love it. Love it. And so then you found yourself building a tool for the modern era in real time and began kind of rocking that. Tell us a little bit about kind of the details that went into building this tool that we're about to do some show and tell on. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, hold on to the end of our broadcast because there's a special code that's going to get you deep discounts on a very powerful tool that I literally used a couple of weeks ago and helps write half of a book within a couple of hours. So this is one of those like tools you just don't want to gloss over. You want to pay close attention to what Dustin's about to say here. So maybe a little bit of that. How did you get into such a modern tool based on your background? What brought you to that?
Yeah, I mean, I know we don't have a ton of time, and coming from a world of acting, I could talk all day and tell you the story, but I'll try to keep it quick and short. Quick and short? Yeah, both of those. So long story short, 2020, I exited my first software company. I had made it with some partners, and that partnership became very toxic. The product was failing because my partners weren't working. And so I left that company, went on to start my next two products that I thought were, breakthrough ideas. Those two products failed miserably. They were so poorly received. They just could not find product market fit. The actual version of them that I wanted to build would have costed them millions of dollars to hire a development team and build. I didn't have millions of dollars, so I had to outsource the development to a team. And that cost me around $65,000. And even that did not produce the degree of minimum viable product that people were willing to pay for. So they were an absolute failure of products. A handful of people loved them, but they never really took off. So I was at this point, at the end of 2022, this past year in November, my lowest point that I've ever been at in my life. I after 4 years of really going through hell. And I mean it. I mean, my wife's health had gone up and down since 2019. Financial issues, family issues, health issues. Like I was in the lowest point ever. I had friends who committed suicide and deaths in the family. My wife experienced 4 deaths in her family last year. It was just the gamut. And I didn't see any hope. I was completely devoid of hope. And I remember that I'm like, God, if you don't give me something right now, then you might as well just take me home because I have nothing left here. So I'm at that point trying desperately to find a way to revive this dead product that I've got that I just spent $65,000 building, and ChatGPT hits the scene. Now, already I was trying to work in some AI functionality into this dying app, just something cool that will get people to buy, right? And in the process of working with this, building an AI function, ChatGPT comes out and something instantly clicked. I started using it and I was like, this is going to change everything. I I remember it distinctly. After using it for like 2 minutes, I was like, this is going to change the entire world. And I've been using AI like most marketers for the last 3 or 4 years. Things like Jasper, Copy AI, all these copywriting AI tools have been out there. But the problem was these tools, they were predicated on templates and they were very bulky to use. And the problem, I think, with hitting mass market with a product that's based on templates is you're forcing people to fit their creativity into your boxes. Not only that, you're forcing upon them the paradox of choice. And this is a psychological phenomenon that is a lot of research has been done. Basically, when you give people a ton of options to choose from, the tendency is to not make a choice at all. It's a paradox. People want choices, but if they're given too many choices, they end up not choosing at all. And think about Netflix. How many of us, raise your hand in the in the live stream, raise your hand if you've opened up Netflix and you found yourself scrolling for 20 minutes not knowing what to watch, right? We've all been there. And that's the problem with a lot of these tools that were based on templates. You have to go in, figure out which template's going to be the right one. Hopefully that's right. Figure out how it fits within your goals and what you want to accomplish. And it just, certain people got it. Certain people were built for that. They could acclimate to it. But many, many people just, and myself included, could not adapt to that kind of a constrained system. But ChatGPT comes out, and all you have to do is tell the AI what you want, and it gives it to you. It's like magic. And that was the moment that I had. I said, this is going to change everything. And, we know this how the story goes from there, right? ChatGPT, fastest growing consumer product of all time, 100 million users in a week. So there's a reason why this new modality of conversational AI is changing the entire world, and it continues to do so 6 or 8, 9, 10 months later, right? So I got to work right away. I basically threw out everything that I was building, and I was like, I'm going to focus on making a better ChatGPT experience, because as a content creator, as a business owner, ChatGPT was great. I was using it like crazy, but instantly I had some friction points, some pain points. Instantly I was like, okay, in the last week, I've just made like 30 chats. How do I find the one that I made on Tuesday of last week? It had something to do with like social media posts. What was that? And I'm like you have to click on each one. Is that the one? No, that's not the one. Is that the one? And you're like scrolling endlessly. I'm like, why doesn't this have a search and filter function? That's so basic. Okay, I think I could build that. And on top of that, ChatGPT is accessible via API. So you can literally use it from any third-party app. And so that's exactly what I set out to do with Magai. Magi's goal was to be a better ChatGPT. But as I started building, as I started talking to users and applying it to certain scenarios and use cases, it became so much more than that. It became the all-in-one AI tool to rule them all.
Well said. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, get your screenshots ready, get your replay buttons ready, get whatever helps you understand what we're about to jump into from a show and tell standpoint. Basically, what you're about to see is the beginning stages. It's been a little bit of a journey for Dustin, but for many of us, we've just jumped into Magai and started playing around. And you're going to see some solutions here in this tool that will blow your mind. Okay, are you ready? Talk about a setup, Dustin. Let's go. Let's see what we got here. So we got some visuals here that show us what? Tell us what we're looking at.
So what you're looking at here is the chats page. So much like ChatGPT, the idea is you're going to have multiple chats. You're going to have multiple different conversations with AI based on whatever goal you have for that, that day or that particular task. Let me jump over to the right tab here. Now, unlike ChatGPT, you can actually search and filter your chats. You can search by keyword. So if I was looking for social media, you can quickly search your chats and find the social media ones. And of course, it's not going to do that for me right now. It's going to freeze up. There you go. So anything that mentions social media, right? You can search by people on your team. So Magai is also a team-oriented app. You can invite team members. You can have them collaborate on chats. You can sort them alphabetically by date, reverse date, whatever you need. And then you can do certain things like archive chats. Maybe you don't need it anymore, but you don't want to necessarily delete it. Maybe you want to make sure that one stays at the top. So we have a pin feature to keep things front and center for you. So a lot of little nuances that really help you stay organized with your chats.
Now, what are some of these colors and letters, like the purple and the brown and the green? Like what's happening here? Let's say I've never used a tool like this where it kind of plays in a lot of different ways. What are those?
I'm so glad you asked. So with Magai, it's not just ChatGPT. What I realized very quickly as I was digging deep into the really nerdy side of large language models is ChatGPT is not the only game in town. There are some competitors coming up, and each of these different AI models has different strengths and weaknesses. For example, ChatGPT is extremely creative. And that's part of the advanced training that I want to give today. Some sort of a layer of understanding of how these LLM works. But ChatGPT is very creative, but because it's super creative, sometimes it can get too creative. And for example, if you're giving it like a blog post to repurpose into social media posts, it might creatively change some of the details, or it might, embellish some things that you maybe didn't want to have modifications made to. So it can be at times too creative for its own good. So what I wanted to do with Magai is give it a diversity of language models for specific use cases, or if you have a preference and just feel like one language model works better than another.
You mean there's more language models out there than ChatGPT? And tell us what are some examples?
Yeah, so I opened up the interface here. So this is what it looks like when you start a new chat with Magai. And right at the top, you'll see there is an AI model section. You click on that AI model section, you'll get a list of AI models to choose from. So we've got the GPT models, GPT 3.5, which is the standard free ChatGPT version. Then we've got GPT-4, which is the advanced, more intelligent, more comprehensive model. But then we've got two models, Claude Instant and Claude 2. Claude is created by a company called Anthropic. And Anthropic, they are extremely smart in how they've crafted their AI, but they're also very cautious. They are much more, their emphasis is much higher on the safety side and the accuracy side. So they've trained it on large data sets, and they've really trained it to be as accurate and safe as possible. So what it tends to bring to the table that GPT doesn't is this level of accuracy and safety. So whereas ChatGPT might be too creative for its own good, it might change things that you don't want it to change, Claude is much better at maintaining the integrity of given information, much less likely to hallucinate things when you've given it a sort of a foundational set of data to work with.
Hallucinate like make up facts or include random random pieces of information that kind of don't really sort of fit. Maybe they're not even accurate. Okay, so when I heard that you had included Claude into Magai as a part of the suite of AI tools, I was like, holy smokes, tell me where to sign up, because I had fallen in love. Don't tell my wife, but I fell in love with Claude to such an extent that I was running like full books through this thing. There's so much. Speak to the fact that you can take more text and throw it into Claude than you can with at least the certain aspects of GPT. Like, can you explain the kind of the length of document or the length of text a little bit there?
That's another one of its big advantages over GPT. So a lot of people don't even know this yet, but every AI model has a memory limit. It can only process so much conversation at one time. That's why many people might be having a long conversation with GPT, and it'll say something, and you might think, wait, did you forget what I said above? Like, that seems like you don't remember something. And that it's probably true, because if you think of the AI's memory almost like a window, like you're looking at me through a window right now.
Mm-hmm.
Each message in that window gets kind of pushed up, right? So the first message starts here, and then you get another one, and another one, another one. Eventually, that first message goes outside the window. This is what we call the context window of the AI model.
Okay.
Now, GPT's context window is 6,000 words. Now, they refer to this in tokens, which is a very technical term, but let's look at it in terms of words. GPT-4 can remember 6,000 words in a conversation. The minute you hit that limit, it starts removing things from its memory right from the top, almost like a thumb drive that's filled with photos. You want to add more photos to that thumb drive, you got to pull stuff off. Claude, on the other hand, has a 75,000 word.
Say that again. Over 10 times the window.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. You can write several books in a conversation with Claude, and it still remembers the entire conversation. Now, the other benefit to that isn't just longer conversations, but deeper knowledge conversations. Because as you have this conversation with the AI, it gets smarter and smarter and smarter. It gets more accurate, more attuned to what it is you're trying to accomplish with it. So deeper conversations result in far better output, which is why Claude is sort of my default go-to when it comes to long form.
It's starting to become sort of my longer copy default as well. There's other things, obviously, the quick questions, I go to GPT or whatever too.
Right.
But bottom line is, there's some nuances here that we don't necessarily have time to go into all of them, but I wanted to at least hit those two.
Yes.
And then maybe quickly go through the other, what is there, couple more?
There are two others. There are Palm, which is created by Google's GPT alternative. And then there's Llama 2, which is created by Meta, aka Facebook's parent company. Meta is on par to be almost as good as GPT-4. Now, both Palm 2 and Llama 2 are not nearly as advanced. They do have some room to grow. I would probably equate them to GPT 3.5. So they're about that level of sophistication, and they can do really great things. I mean, GPT 3.5 is the chat GPT that we all were introduced to and were amazed by. So it's by no means bad, but the newer models, the more advanced models, are significantly better.
I enjoyed taking some of the same questions or
Right.
some of the same content and running them through multiple washing machines, if you will, and coming out with something kind of cool looking, or
Now, the other benefit of Palm 2 and Llama 2 is that they are unmoderated. Now, what does that mean? So OpenAI and Anthropic, they have safety guidelines. They also have what's called an acceptable use policy. There are things that are acceptable to use their models for, and there are things that are not acceptable to use. And therefore, apps like mine, or any app that uses these large language models, they're required to put every piece of content, every prompt through a moderation AI queue, which means an AI needs to look at your prompt and say, does this fit within the acceptable use policy? And if it doesn't,
so if you're a little renegade, if you're a little edgy, you want to go with some of the there's times when I'm like, I just want to know this, like some information about this kind of hot topic. And sometimes, look, I'm a person of faith, just like you. Like, it's not that I'm trying to do anything weird. I just want to know the answers to this particular question, and it's got a keyword in it that's like, sorry, we don't even talk about mango fruit, or whatever the heck it is. Like, it's like, really, you don't talk about that? Okay, well, that's interesting. Most humans do, but okay. So then you have these options to run maybe the same concept through. Maybe one has a little bit more historical, data points. Maybe some has more creative options of how to tie something together. Maybe something has, topics that they can address that others don't. Okay. All right. So now you're starting to get my attention, which obviously I've been nerding in this tool for a while now, but now we're starting to get the attention, right? We got all this together. What Well, how do I say, like, I noticed there's like a document saver and like all these different things within the tool. Can you tell us more about how to save the actual copy of some of these outputs that are coming from the AI tool itself, from Magi itself? Can you share with us how to save stuff?
Absolutely. Before I move on from this, though, because there's a real advanced thing that I want to notate here for everybody listening
Okay.
that most people will not understand and they won't intuitively figure out but for themselves. And this is super important of why I built Magi the way that I did, why there are multiple AI models in here. When you understand the nuances and the differences between these AI models, naturally you might want to use the strengths of multiple models and not be limited to just one. So if you go into ChatGPT, use ChatGPT natively, you're limited to that model and its strengths and weaknesses. But with Magi, we give you the ability to change between models. So what does that mean? It means I could start a conversation with GPT 3.5. And then once I get what I want from GPT, give it a second here, I can go back in and I can change over to Claude
And
and I
ask
can
it a
continue
second
the
question.
conversation with Claude.
You continue the conversation with multiple geniuses basically in the room.
Yes, and here's the crazier part that I didn't even realize until after, I really started exploring this. By using these different AI models in the same conversation, you can say start a conversation with GPT-4, which is the more advanced model, probably the most advanced in terms of creative abilities, and then continue with a less advanced model, which maybe has more memory. And that less advanced model is actually learning in the conversation from the history of the other model. So you're effectively making the less advanced model more advanced by giving it the previous conversation examples from the other AI model. And what the result is just so much better. So much
So
better
you're
than
not
just
only helping this new emerging industry become more mature, but you're also using a tool that serves you well by leveraging the strengths. If you think of them like people in a room, they're leveraging the strengths of a person in a room. Maybe somebody has more wisdom, maybe somebody has more creativity, maybe somebody has more like memory, maybe somebody has more like whatever it is, you're putting
yeah.
it all together.
The doors open wide with the ability to interchange between models. So that's super important, and we can probably dive deeper into that, but we got a limited amount of time here. But
And we have
you
some
asked about
guests
some of the other
we have some
features.
panel guests in the VIP room as well, Dustin. So we're going to be getting into some more questions.
Sure.
I've just been selfishly asking some basic questions to kind of get us going. But okay, so let's say we're going through all this, all doing all these things. Can you touch on real briefly kind of the creative elements? We may not need to do a show and tell here, but just give us an idea of, okay, we got the language or the copy or the text side of AI, but what about some of these other features that you're starting to build into the tool? Can you give us a little sneak peek?
Yeah, so the things that I really wanted to offer my users, because I needed them, right, as a content creator, were the ability to sort of do things within the chat that would allow me to stay in the chat and not have to leave and switch apps and go back and forth between documents or saved files. So right within the editor, the chat interface here, you have a document editor. So if you're building a blog post or you're building a document, you can actually copy the text from a prompt, come over here to the document, paste it right in there, make any edits you need. You can bold, italic, headings, do some formatting in there. You can build these entire documents side by side without having to leave the window. And then when you're done, you can hit the copy button, copy all of the text to that document, place it into WordPress or place it into a Google Doc, wherever you need it. The not having to change context is something that I'm a big fan of. I think if you stay in your flow and you can focus in, you get much better work done and you get it done faster with less energy. The other thing too is I found myself using prompts over and over again, like very similar prompts whether that would be, like a standard operating procedure for a specific type of content that I want, or maybe it's product information, brand information that you don't want to have to keep retyping over and over again to remind the AI. So I built a saved prompts system where you can actually save prompts, and you can view your saved prompts right in your sidebar here. And so let me find one. And you can also filter, search, and sort them. So I have certain ones that I use for blog posts, for example. So I have this one here that is like the starting point. I numbered it 0-1, so it kind of shows up in order. I typically ask first for talking points. And so if you click on the prompt, it pops right into your input here. And so this one will say, I need help coming up with talking points about, and then you enter your blog post topic here. Say content marketing. What are some important talking points that would be covered? So I would enter that into the chat, and then I'd go to my number 2 prompt, and then that one would say, create a full blog post outline based on the talking points we finalized. So I have a whole standard operating procedure through these saved prompts. It makes things so much faster, so much easier.
Wow, very efficient. It probably helps with brain space as well, because you're not trying to remember how did I develop that killer blog last time? How did I end up in the sweet spot of this tool? And that helps you do that so quickly.
Right.
Wow, great.
And you can see it gave me a whole bunch of talking points for this blog post.
Come on.
So then you've also got the ability to search your previous chats right here in the sidebar, scroll through them. You can quickly change between your chats almost instantly. It's very fast. And then we have some chat info on the side that gives you a little more information. You can at any point change your model. Personas are oh man, we need to take a minute. Can we take a minute to talk about personas?
real quick.
Because this is the advanced of the advanced understanding of how AI models work. It's super important. So in Magai, we have what's called personas. And for those who, nobody really knows this unless you really get deep into the nerdiness of AI. Every AI model you work with has a given set of instructions on how it's supposed to act and behave. And this is typically called the system instruction or the system message. This is what the AI creators tell the AI to, or how they tell it to behave when they're interacting with you in the conversation.
Almost like a personality, or
like a personality,
like
exactly.
a style of delivering information.
It's the role that they are supposed to play in the conversation.
Okay, gotcha.
For OpenAI, their default system message, which you cannot change, you cannot manipulate, is you are a helpful assistant. Very simple, very basic, and it gives the AI everything it needs to know about how it should approach the conversation.
Yep.
Now, if you look into the documentation, you'll note in OpenAI in particular, they explicitly say that GPT-4 will obey that instruction above all else. That is its highest priority instruction, is that system message. Now, many AI teachers have talked about how you can tell it, act like a marketing expert, or act like a researcher, or act like a customer support representative. And the AI will kind of adapt to that instruction and try to be that role, or try to act like that kind of a personality.
Sure. It'll modify a little bit, but it's still, at the end of the day, it's an assistant.
At the end of the day, it still holds that you are a helpful assistant as the highest priority.
Got it.
And so you're fighting against this system message in a sense. So what I did with Magai is I recognized this, and I wanted to find a way to kind of bypass that. And thankfully, through the API, you can change the system message. You can make modifications.
So what are some of the options? Like, give us an example. I've looked through this, and it just blew my mind. I'm like, wait a minute. I can search as if I'm a whatever. Like, I need help from a particular role, almost like a person that's giving me information. What are some examples?
So I created a handful, 40 plus custom personas that are built into Magai that you can choose from. So things like a marketing expert, an expert copywriter. One of my favorites is the stand-up comedian. It's very fun.
Come on.
You should try it. Business advisor, career counselor, customer support agent, debate expert, DIY expert, domain name generator, my own, but that's custom to me, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But we've got a bunch of pre-crafted personas that I've built into Magi that you can instantly select from. You can read the descriptions and see exactly what those instructions are. When you select one of these personas, it then gets applied to the conversation at that point, from that point on. So let's say you wanted to start out with a life coach, but then you get so far through the conversation, then you want to switch over to a stand-up comedian because you're feeling down and you want to laugh. You can change mid-conversation and the AI will adapt from there on out.
Wow, I saw some deeper ones too that we don't have time for today, but I mean everything from Bible scholar or certain kinds of scholars to historically this or philosophical. Like I just saw some really interesting ones, and there's enough to play with there that it'll get you going deeper and deeper into details and nuances that will help you more and more and more as you use the tool. So let's leave it at that for now, Dustin, because there's just a lot there. But
I'll just say one last thing.
Yeah.
The beauty of Magi is you can create your own custom personas. That's how I had one that was engineered towards me to kind of write in my voice. Mm-hmm. You can create your own personas to select from the chat based on your brand, whatever needs you have. You can create your own custom persona to fill that exact objective or need.
All right, so if you build your own bot basically that helps you kind of grab
your own AI personality to give to the AI.
Your own personality grabs the information from different sources, puts them all together. You can copy them, bring them into team dynamics, use it individually, whatever you want to do to kind of get your voice going, get your preferred method of grabbing awesome resources going. And using this modern tool, you can kind of put them all together in one place. Okay, so that's the beauty of the tool. We're gonna be asking some of our panel guests to come in and start asking questions. Is there anything else around imagery or language or anything that we need to kind of let the audience know about before we get into Q&A? Because we got everything from artists to business builders to like all sorts of folks about to come in.
So you see that we do have an image editor. We have the 4 most popular AI image generation models where you can generate images, anything you can imagine you can generate. SDXL is short for Stable Diffusion XL. It's the most advanced version of Stable Diffusion, which is a popular open source image generation AI model. Leonardo, which is a collection of fine-tuned Stable Diffusion models. DALL-E 2, which is OpenAI's last, not the most current because they haven't released it via API, but their last and first big image generation model. And of course, Midjourney, which is the most advanced image generation model out there. I mean, if you look at some of these things I generated with Midjourney, this was I think I just said a warrior, battle-torn warrior walking through a fiery landscape. Astonishing.
What is happening right now? Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
All right. So with that imagery and that backdrop for the copy and the language side, let's bring in some of our panel guests. And by the way, we still have to give away our little bonus coupon code or our discount code. So do you want to do that now or do you want to wait till the end of the conversation?
Sure, we can give it away now.
All right, I'm going to drop it now and then we're going to drop it again if you miss it. Giver 30. Write that down, type it out, put it on your phone, text it to yourself, do whatever you got to do to remember all caps, Giver 30, Giver, the number 30. Okay, and you'll know what that means in a minute when we talk about that more. Giver 30. Okay, so any last pieces on the visuals before we get into panel discussion?
Oh, we could go down a whole rabbit hole, but we better not.
All right, I'm bringing them in. This is happening. Here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we get the roundtable discussion going. We put the guest on the hot seat, if you will, and have some fun. It's kind of more of a warm seat. It's just really fun. So ultimately, we want to be able to ask questions to our expert of the day. And we have none other than Oz in the house, who is an artist. We have Joel. Some of us might have some some background noise going, so it might want to mute most of us at some, at any given time, and then we can go from there. But let's ask some questions of Dustin when it comes to just AI in general, how to use the tools. I mean, look, many of us have already used Magi, and that's why we're presenting this now. We actually use the tool, so we don't necessarily need to go into like I use it. I use it and I love Dustin. We all love Dustin, but let's talk about some of the questions maybe the audience might be having too as well. And Christine's going to keep an eye on the audience questions very closely. So if you're watching this live on some social media platform or even the replay, ask the question, because at some point we're going to get to those at some way, shape, or form. So just ask the question so everybody in the room can kind of benefit from those questions. It'll help us all. It'll help the algorithm as well, but it'll help us all understand what are some of the questions that we have. Oz, do you have any thoughts here, questions real quick, since we got the imagery up, just kind of tee up?
Well, I realize that even though I spend minimum 2 to 3 hours on Magi every single day, 7 days a week, I am underutilizing it because I have really not dipped into Claude, and I already took half a page of notes, Dustin, and we talk pretty regularly. I did not realize it was even more expansive than I thought it was. Adding Midjourney was a game changer, and I realized during a very large Midjourney training yesterday that anyone that's using Midjourney on Discord and not utilizing Magi is wasting a massive amount of time, because if anybody knows what I'm talking about, that's an artist, you can create Midjourney images on Discord, and then you have to go find them. You don't have to do that on Magi. Everything is saved right there. I mean, what you've created, you're going to be very, very wealthy. I don't really have any questions because I'm on it every day, but there are a bunch of things I need to talk to you about sometime after the meeting, especially about Midjourney.
Well, if we have any questions that have come up over our experience with the tool that would help the audience, let's keep that in mind, Oz, here in the next few minutes. And then also, like I asked a bunch of questions earlier, if there's any like secondary questions in relation to that. Joel, do you have any questions that might be worth popping in the chat or just unmuting? And I can mute right now and just make sure everybody has the ability to ask questions.
Yeah, I think, my biggest thing with AI is the amount of human interaction, and would like to, just ask Dustin, how much have you experienced as a increased need or a decreased need of the human interaction to get the quality of the content that you're looking for? I mean, I understand AI is based on previous learning. So how do we get to intuitive responses?
I love that question, because I think the nature of humans, I think we are naturally and aggressively lazy. So we want to find like the easiest, like we want the easy button, we want the one click, do it all for me. But this current state of AI and its capabilities, it works much, much better in small bursts. So every AI model that I've used, and if you read the documentation, you'll find this, that they are much better in short bursts of text. So if you were to say generate a paragraph, it would be exponentially better and higher quality than if you were to say generate 2,000 words for a blog post. The more words you have it generated once, the less quality you're going to get as it goes on. So the way that I teach writing articles, for example, blog posts, is you want to take it section by section, heading by heading, paragraph by paragraph, and really have an actual dialogue about the content that you're creating and sort of edit as you go, rather than what many people tend towards, which is, write an entire blog post for me and then I'll make edits to it. You get exceptionally better content going step by step, section by section, because the AI it's focused. It's playing on its strength of creating that focus and that limited amount of text, and you're giving it feedback over and over and over again, which is making it smarter and smarter and smarter. as that conversation goes on. So I think the human element is essential. And why you hear this phrase repeated throughout the AI industry, it's that AI is not going to replace you. Somebody using AI is going to replace you. So those who understand the power and the value of the back and forth, the feedback loop of that conversational AI, they're the ones who are going to excel and create far better content. That's why I'm in no way. I was just on a live video yesterday with a big SEO expert talking all about SEO and AI and how these SEO farms, these blog post generator apps that are coming out, one-click blog post generators, they're promising all these SEO results, but really they're just going to fail because they're creating loads of really bad content that's not going to rank. And so, human element is essential. Taking step by step in conversation. This will speed up your process significantly and reduce your cognitive loads significantly. And at the same time, you're still utilizing the most valuable thing in the equation. That's your experience and your knowledge and your insight.
I love that there's a wisdom, an experience, a history, a skill set you can apply to, well, really any tool that comes on the scene. I remember, I'm old enough to remember when Google search was kind of just a funny idea, or, search engines were like this weird term, like what kind of engine? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then now we
like
just
a Corvette engine kind
of? Like, what is this? Well, this is a powerful tool you can use for your business, your everyday life, to find, different locations and just everything that you can think of. And then you start thinking about it. We are now thinking in terms of prompts that we put into search engines. I can see the same sort of thing happening in my personal life, not in a negative way, like in a positive way. Like I'm thinking in terms of prompts so that I can get to this information. I was just doing a presentation at church last Sunday, and I was on Noah. Look, I haven't read the flood story in years. I'm not going to go all into this, but I'm just saying it did take about an hour to kind of go through all the things I wanted to go through, but it would have taken me back in the day. It would have taken me literally days and days and days to find the same information in the same logical manner that can be applied to this, but not to this. If then, if this, then that, like what, all the different things, all the nerdy things that I have all this training on how to study and scholarly this and all this kind of thing. I just leveraged this tool, went whoop, and I was just sharing this with my wife yesterday. I'm like, you don't understand. Like, it used to take me 20 hours to do some of this stuff, and now it's taking less than 2. Like, it's yeah. So that's a use case for something I just did over the weekend on the personal, like just a thing. Any other examples, questions? Shamika, we got the copywriter in the house. We got the marketing professionals. We got the artists. We get Christine. I know we got some questions probably coming in the comments. If you haven't asked your question, this is the time to do it, ladies and gentlemen. Anybody have a question for Dustin that will kind of prompt some ideas or thoughts?
Okay. I'm wondering, Dustin, so as you're talking, and I've just started diving into AI. So this is all still fairly new for me. And so when I see this idea that you could create like your warrior, right? That I was like, oh my goodness. So I'm wondering, can you do a persona from an image standpoint? So you have your favorite warrior and then you can put them in different scenes. So if you were going to use it to like create a book.
Got it. Yeah. So what that is, the technical term in the AI industry for that is, well, I mean, there's different terms for it. There's different approaches to doing that. One of them is image to image, where you take a sort of a seed image is what they call it. And you ask the AI to produce different versions of it with that subject matter. Currently, Magai does not have that available. And even Midjourney is still in its beta phase. We're working out all the bugs and adding features constantly. So we're working on that image-to-image modality where you can do something like that. It does exist in other apps. If you go to leonardo.ai, you can kind of do stuff like that. You'll need an account with them. But very soon it will be coming to Magai as well, because a lot of image creators, especially authors, who are creating books or novels or stories, that's exactly what they want. And so that is coming down the pipeline. Probably, if I had to estimate, I'd say between 4 and 6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Weeks. Oh, you heard it here
That's
first,
good.
ladies and gentlemen. This is going to get exciting. Christine, amazing question. If we have any other questions in the comments, now's the time to go find those. So who has the question? Oh, we got questions coming in right now. So if you're one who has a question, this is the time to kind of let those be known. Shamika, do you have any thoughts, questions?
Yeah, I do. Thank you, Timothy. So, Dustin, one of the things that clients struggle with is knowing their customers, their ideal avatars. Is it possible for Magi to like pull information from different places all around the interwebs and also include information from the client to create an avatar?
I love this question so much because there are multiple layers here that I could probably talk about for a whole hour. But let me summarize that to say, yes. So Magai from the beginning has had the ability for you to paste a web URL. You can paste a link to a web page. Magai will recognize that link. It will visit that page, pull all of the text from the page, and hand it off to the AI with your prompt. So for example, you say, here's some information about client X, and then you paste a link, say, summarize this information about client X, and it will. Magai will go to the page, pull the text, add it to your prompt, and then the AI will be able to read everything that was on that page, as long as that page isn't blocking web crawlers. That's kind of the caveat. We don't want to crawl pages that the website owner doesn't allow us to crawl. So it can pull that information right in. You can start working with it right away. And you can do that over and over again throughout the chat to kind of feed it more and more information.
Now remind me, do you need more than just the link, Dustin, to do that to it? You just need the link in
just the URL.
Holy smokes, that's a big deal, ladies and gentlemen. That sounds like a small thing, but it's not, because I've been going through these websites, highlight, select all, copy all the text, maybe even a few of the images, throw it into some of these tools. There's a lot better way to do. Oh my gosh. Okay, thank you. I just learned.
Paste the URL.
All right.
Now,
So
on top of that, as the cherry on top of that, we work with a lot of YouTube creators, a lot of podcasters. And so I've also built in the ability to recognize, differentiate between a typical web page and a YouTube video. So if you paste a YouTube video link in there, Magai will automatically pull in the transcript from that video, and you'll have the entire transcript within within that chat to interact with.
You just saved me using like 5 different tools to do kind of the same. Oh my gosh. That's why you created Magai, because it's like all in one, kind of the best of everything kind of put together. Okay, this is Mika, did he answer the question?
One more thing, because
or did I interrupt?
You totally did, and it's fine. I love when you interrupt.
All right.
You always have good stuff to say, so please do. But I want to say one more thing about Shamika's question, because you started with sometimes it's difficult for clients to know their target audience, right? Or to know things about their target audience. So here's a straight up level 16 hack that you can do with Magai. You can create a persona that is engineered to be your target audience. What does that mean? So let's say your target audience is single moms between the ages of 35 and 40 who live in Nebraska. You can create a custom persona for that target audience. You can feed it some information, some demographic information about that target audience, and then turn that into a persona, then activate that persona inside of the chat. Now you can start chatting with your target audience and asking them questions. What are some things what are some challenges you have throughout the day? Now, this shouldn't be seen as gospel truth, right? But this can really spark some ideas on how maybe you can interact with that target audience, how you can solve some problems, or maybe some language that you can use to better reach that target audience. When you have that ability to sort of create an AI that is your target audience and have some conversation with them, it's a total game changer. And then from there, you can switch to your own custom brand persona and start generating content for that target audience.
I was looking at a website recently, and I was like, this needs more emphasis on the pain or the problem they're solving. It's a good website. It has some good elements to it, but the audience needs to resonate with the problem or the pain that is being solved in this imagery and copy and all that. So I grabbed it, threw it into AI tool, and then ended up with this list of questions that you could incorporate into the website, incorporate into your other copy, incorporate into conversations, incorporate into whatever. I could probably build sounds like a persona around that particular target audience, have a more, a deeper conversation. This is game changer for the marketing, the business, and other industries as well. What questions do we have from? I saw a few questions coming through, Christine, from the comments. Did you get a chance to catch any of those? What are some of the good ones as we make sure you're live here?
Well, and a lot of people aren't even, it's not even how-tos, or they're like, oh my goodness, and they're having epiphanies. They're like, I'm in insurance and I can use this to fix my business. I'm a podcaster. I can use this to pull they're just having epiphanies about their business one after another. It's amazing to see the comments that we're getting in here where people are realizing how to really make this work. And we've got some questions about the long form book script. Can you use it for spelling, grammar errors, right? Can you find mistakes easily?
Yeah. So when it comes to something like a really long form, I mean, depends on, I guess, how long form you're getting. I would almost 100% of the time recommend Claude because Claude has, number one, the longer context length. You could feed it up to 75 words. That's plenty for several books. But on top of that, its ability to maintain the integrity of information is much more trustworthy in making those changes. Now, personally, I think Grammarly still has the market on like actual spelling and grammar help, really good stuff. But AI can definitely help with that too. Well, I guess Grammarly is part AI. But something like Claude can definitely help you sift through a large amount of text quickly and identify problematic areas and make those changes with a significant confidence.
One of the things that bothers me personally, just on a personal note, when I'm reading a book or going through copy, is repetitive language. And so what I did with the book that I'm finishing up right now is I threw it into Magai/Claude, and I asked it, tell me places where there's a bunch of repetitive phrases or language. What kind of repetitive stuff is, because our brains get tired when we start reading repetitive stuff. So just not even just grammar or spelling, but like just phrases and concepts and ideas. Like it gets into the details of this. So super important. Hey, we're top of the hour. I do want to give that discount code one more time before we wrap up and land the plane. I know Kobe had one more question as well about URLs, and we can try to squeeze that in here in just a minute. Christine, go ahead and put it up on the screen. That's fine. But Giver30 is what you want to use. So we go to, where do we go? Magai.co? Is that right?
You can go straight to Magai.co and sign up. And when you sign up, it will ask you for your credit card information to start the free trial. And there is a coupon code spot. Just click on that, add your coupon code, and it'll apply a 30% discount for 3 months, your first 3 months. And that'll start after your 7-day free trial.
And it's not that expensive anyway to begin with. So it's almost like we're just giving you extra goodies on top of your basic lunch here. And it's just amazing the tools that can kind of come into play as you're putting this whole big meal together. So super awesome. Really appreciate you doing that. Giver30, all caps. Go to Magai, Magai.co, and sign up today. Get your free trial going. Get your discount code going. Have some fun there. Make it happen. start today, because it's just, what was that phrase you used? AI is not going to take your job. It's somebody using
Somebody using
AI
AI will take
that
your
might
job.
take some of your market share or your job or your work. So let's not let's I can just imagine. I still run into people every once in a while. It's like, I don't use a computer. And it's like, how do you even make a living? Like, I don't understand. Like, I do everything by hand. And it's like, oh, okay, all right. Well, look, there's probably 1 in a million that make it that way, but there's another, millions of people that are doing great work leveraging some of these tools. Or, I don't like going on social media ever. Like, it's the devil. And it's like, okay, how do people like? How do people get to know you? Oh, I just keep it local. And okay, all right, that's fine. That might work for you. 1 out of 100,000 or 1 out of, whatever. But for all the rest of us, these tools become kind of just a really cool part of taking our work from good to great. And I love, love, love that we can have that available. So because of the time that is limited, we want to honor everybody's time here. If you have to bounce, that's fine. But I did want to ask that one quick question. There might be two. Really quick, Christine, are there two questions that we might be able to answer just really quickly in our bonus time here?
We've got a quick question. Love to know if we can help grow and market your YouTube. So I think the question is whether or not we can use Magi to grow and market.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great content generator. So it won't do things for you. So it's not like going to go out and like start posting content for you, but it will help you definitely generate ideas, help you generate scripts, help you generate strategies. You can ask it for strategy. How do I grow my YouTube channel? What are some ways I can grow my YouTube channel? Yeah, I mean, think of it as your all-knowing, all-wise best friend who knows everything and can tell you anything about everything.
There's a question too here about, is there a limit to, like, when you paste the URL from a website? Is it the 6,000 characters or words or 75,000 words or whatever it is? Like, how does that work?
So yeah, I mean, that's a great question too, because the words on the page, do those count towards the actual memory limit? And the answer is yes. So there is, in a sense, a limit to how many or how big your web page can be. If you feed it a web page that is 8,000 words and you try to feed it to GPT-4, it's not going to be able to process the request. It's going to just absolutely fail because it's larger than its memory can handle. Whereas you give a 10,000 word page to Claude, handles it just fine. So again, in most cases, this is why I would default to Claude on most things when I'm feeding it information.
All right. Well, we have to land the plane. Dustin, thank you for your time today. We're going to stay on for just a few minutes, have kind of a roundtable discussion while having your website scroll across the bottom of the screen here in honor of your expert guest appearance today. So thank you so much, Dustin. And thank you for being a part of the Giver Marketing Network and an extension of our tribe, the Giver Marketing and Kingdom Warriors Network as well. So we're glad to be able to have you. Thank you.
It's an honor to
Thank
be
you
here.
so much.
You guys
really
rock.
appreciate you.
Thank you, Dustin.
Cool. So, Christine, just to be clear, what Dustin offered was magi.co. Go there, type in Giver 30 in order to get that 3-month discount at 30% off. And it will replace a lot of the other tools that you're already using, right, Oz? Is that what I'm hearing from you as an artist and others that are using these tools?
Yeah, it's magical, and he continues to add more and better, not just image generators, which of course I'm excited about, but large language models. It's almost too much at this point, where you have so many options that honestly nobody's doing what he does. No one in the industry. He is the generator of putting everything in one place that you could possibly utilize.
It reminds me of the early days of search engines, where you had these search engines that you were able to find certain lists or certain bits of information in different places. I can't even remember the names of them now. But then Google just brought them all together and said, search in one place. and then we're going to find the best of everything on the internet, all these other and just kind of aggregate all that information. And it reminds me a little bit of those early days. And I'm sure there's going to be development and, you know, different tools that are kind of brought in, but this is amazing. So thank you guys so much. We're going to end the live stream, and we're going to stick around just for a few minutes in-house here to discuss some details of how we can even help each other leveraging these tools. But I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream now. God bless you guys. We'll see you.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today on Tuesday.